She thought she could resist him, until the alpha's hands, his scent, his dominance pressed against her body and soul. Every heartbeat, every instinct, every shiver answered to him. Her wolf howled, her desire ignited, and she realized too late that she was completely, irrevocably his. Celine Ardent woke to the scent of cedar and rain before the first light of dawn touched her room. The air was thick, almost alive, carrying the faint, intoxicating musk of the Draven estate. Cale Draven scent lingering even though he was nowhere in sight. She closed her eyes, willing the stirring in her chest to settle, but it refused. His presence, even absent, had a way of marking her like territory, like a wolf claiming a mate. Her fingers traced the edge of the white silk sheets, smooth beneath her touch yet cold against the warmth of her skin. She had been promised to Evan Thorne, a beta of steady loyalty, gentle and devoted, the kind of man whose love was like a soft river, predictable, comforting, safe. And yet, as the memory of Cale's eyes flashed behind her closed lids, she realized how little safe had ever mattered to her. Cale Draven was danger wrapped in perfect form. Commanding, unyielding, a predator hidden in human skin. And she was drawn to him, every fiber of her body screaming to cross the line that society, duty, and her own promises had drawn. Morning sunlight crept across the room, catching the silken strands of her hair and igniting them like embers. Celine rose, bare feet brushing the cold floor, and moved to the window. The estate sprawled below, a fortress of stone and shadow, surrounded by the forested expanse that marked Draven territory. Wolves' howls drifted from the trees, distant yet familiar, a reminder of her place, and her small, dangerous defiance within it. The Alpha's chamber doors opened then, without sound. Celine stiffened, instinctively knowing before seeing that Cale had entered. He moved like a shadow, silent but unavoidable. She turned slowly, meeting his gaze. The room seemed to shrink around him, his presence consuming the air, the light, the very space she occupied. "You should be sleeping," she murmured, her voice betraying her nerves, trembling as it fought against the rising heat in her veins. Cale's lips quirked into a shadow of a smile, more a predator's promise than amusement. "I never sleep when you're awake," he said, each word deliberate, each syllable a claim. His eyes, dark and stormed with unspoken hunger, held her in place as surely as iron bands. Celine's pulse raced. She could feel the pull, the magnetic gravity of him. Her Omega instincts screamed to submit, to flee, to fight, and yet every part of her body betrayed her, trembling beneath his scrutiny. You shouldn't be here," she stammered, though she was fully aware she had no right to voice a complaint. Every step she took, every heartbeat, was already dictated by the unspoken tension between them. Cale advanced, slow, methodical, each step a calculated invasion of her space. The scent of him, dark leather, cedar, and something wild, feral, impossibly raw, seeped into her senses. Her knees weakened, her fingers itched to brush against him, to feel that raw energy, though her mind screamed danger. "I could say the same," he whispered, standing so close that she could feel his heat, could sense the coiled power in his body, the taut control that kept him from overwhelming her instantly. "Yet here you are. You cannot resist me any more than I can resist you." Her chest tightened, and she pressed a hand against it, trying to slow the frantic rhythm of her heart. It was ridiculous, dangerous, forbidden. And yet, the truth hovered on the edge of her lips, and she knew Cale sensed it even before she could speak it aloud. Desire, raw and untamed, surged through her. "You know this is impossible," she breathed, each word trembling. "I'm promised." He silenced her with a gesture so small, yet so commanding it sent shivers down her spine. His fingers brushed against her jawline, warm, hard, claiming. "Promised," he repeated, his voice dark, low, rolling over her like a storm. "And yet you do not resist me." Celine shivered. His proximity, the weight of his dominance, the predatory perfection of him, It all wrapped around her like a vice. Her mind screamed loyalty, her body screamed surrender, and somewhere deep, a wolf within her howled in recognition. This was her alpha, her danger, her forbidden desire. The estate outside remained silent, unaware of the tension that electrified the air, the raw hunger coiling around them. Cale's gaze swept over her, lingering on the curve of her neck, the line of her collarbone, the way her fingers flexed nervously at her sides. His lips parted, and for a heartbeat, she imagined them brushing hers, tasting, marking, consuming. "You should leave," she whispered, barely audible. Every instinct urged flight, yet her body refused. He leaned in, and the heat of his chest brushed against hers. The scent of him, earth, cedar, smoke, was overwhelming, flooding her senses, anchoring her to the moment. "I cannot," he said simply, almost regretfully, though the tension in his stance betrayed him. "And neither can you." Celine's knees threatened to buckle. She was caught between duty and desire, between the promised beta who would never claim her fully and the alpha who wanted every part of her, body and soul. "Cale," she breathed, the name tasting forbidden yet sweet on her tongue. It was the only surrender she could offer without words, and it burned her from the inside out. He closed the distance between them, the faintest brush of his lips against her temple igniting a fire that seared through every nerve ending. "You are mine," he murmured, low and possessive. "Every heartbeat, every breath. You were born for me, Celine, even if the world tells you otherwise." The weight of his words pressed into her chest, and she fell against him, trembling. He caught her effortlessly, a cage of strength and dominance that was terrifying and delicious in equal measure. Her omega instincts surged, bowing, yielding, aching to be claimed, and yet her mind fought, screaming for reason, for promise, for Evan. And still the pull was unstoppable. Cale's hands traced her sides, lingering on the heat of her body beneath her gown. Every touch was a mark, every brush a claim. Celine's breath hitched. The world outside the chamber, the rules, the promises, the clan, fell away, leaving only them, the moonlight, and the sharp, delicious edge of forbidden desire. "You are dangerous," she whispered, trembling against him. "You are fire, Cale. You will consume me." He chuckled softly, a sound that rumbled deep and primal, vibrating through her very bones. "Then burn with me," he murmured, and his lips brushed hers, feather-light, teasing, igniting something ancient and powerful in her. Desire, hunger, possession, all tangled together in a pulse that neither could ignore. Her mind screamed no, her body screamed yes, and somewhere in the deepest folds of her soul, the wolf recognized its mate. It was forbidden. It was dangerous. And yet, it was inevitable. For the first time in her life, Celine understood what it meant to be truly, undeniably, irreversibly wanted. Not by a beta who offered comfort, but by the alpha who demanded everything, consumed everything, and left her trembling, undone, and alive in ways she had never imagined. Cale held her tighter, his forehead resting against hers, both of them breathing in unison, tethered together by something neither words nor laws could sever. And in the quiet, heavy with scent and heat, she realized the truth. She would never be able to resist him. Not now, not ever. The world could demand loyalty, could offer promises, could threaten exile or punishment. But Cale Draven's claim on her was older than law, stronger than fear, and hotter than fire. And Celine, trembling, shivering, and entirely undone, knew she would meet it, every time, willingly, dangerously, and completely. The sun had barely pierced the horizon when Celine Ardent walked through the Draven estate gardens, her bare feet sinking into dew-soaked grass. Every step carried the memory of Cale Draven's hands, the heat of his body pressed against hers, the predatory weight of him claiming her even without touch. Her heart still thudded erratically, the aftermath of their encounter in the council hall leaving her trembling, breathless, alive in ways she had never known. The morning air smelled of wet earth and pine, but beneath it lingered Cale's scent, deep, musky, wild. She tried to will it away, tried to fill her lungs with the ordinary instead of the extraordinary, but her body betrayed her. Every nerve screamed, Every muscle remembered his dominance, his claim. The alpha had awakened something primal in her, something that refused to be tamed. Evan Thorne approached silently, his presence grounding yet painfully inadequate. He reached for her hand, and she flinched almost instinctively, startled by the familiarity and the safety that had once comforted her. "Celine," he said softly, voice low, wary. "Are you all right? You've been distant since last night." She forced a smile, small and fragile, hiding the storm within. "I'm fine," she whispered, even as her mind replayed Cale's dark gaze. His predatory dominance, the way he had leaned in so close that the warmth of his breath had burned across her skin. "Just thinking." Evan nodded, but his eyes betrayed his worry. He had always known her mind was sharper than most, her instincts keener than the average Omega, but even he could sense the tension coiled beneath her skin, the heat simmering that had nothing to do with him. Cale did not appear in the gardens, though she felt him everywhere, every glance of sunlight, every shadow in the trees. The alpha was like the moon over the forest, distant yet magnetic, pulling her tides with invisible threads of power and desire. Her reflection in the fountain's water caught her by surprise. Pale, tense, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and want, lips slightly parted as if he had been whispering secrets to her in her sleep. Her fingers touched her own lips, tasting the memory of him, and she shivered. "Celine." The voice was low, impossibly smooth, carrying that unmistakable weight that made the air around her crackle. She turned sharply, and there he was. Cale Draven, Alpha King, the storm incarnate, stepping from the shadow of the estate with his usual effortless grace. She wanted to run. Every part of her screamed flight. Yet her feet remained rooted, held fast by instinct and the magnetic pull of him. He stopped a mere arm's length away, and she could feel the raw energy radiating from him, see it in the glint of his eyes, the tense line of his jaw, the subtle flecks of muscle beneath his coat. "You've been avoiding me," he said, almost a statement, almost a warning. His gaze swept over her, assessing, claiming, devouring. "Why?" Celine swallowed, the word caught in her throat. I needed to think," she admitted, the truth tasting like blood in her mouth. "About everything." Cale's lips curved, dark and predatory. "About me." Her pulse surged. She could not lie, though she tried with a breathless hesitation. "No," she whispered, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. "Not exactly." He stepped closer, the space between them charged, thick with tension, a dangerous magnetic current that hummed in her veins. The scent of him was stronger here, impossible to ignore. Cedar, wet stone, and something darker, something that made her Omega instincts coil and ache with desire. "You think I don't know?" Cale murmured, the words low, teasing, a thread of hunger wrapped around them. "I feel it in your pulse, in the way you breathe when you think I'm not watching. Don't pretend you're not mine, Celine. You've belonged to me since the moment your scent first crossed mine." The world seemed to tilt. She could feel the truth of his claim in the pit of her stomach, in the fluttering of her pulse, in the heat pressing against her chest. She wanted to resist. She should resist. Evan's name hovered at the edge of her mind, a fragile anchor to a life of safety and promise. And yet, Cale's presence was a tide, relentless and consuming, and she felt herself surrendering inch by inch. "I'm promised," she breathed, almost against her will. "I'm promised to another." His laugh was a rumble, low and dangerous, resonating against the trees, the earth, the air between them. "Promised," he said, leaning slightly, his gaze sharp as a blade. "You think a promise can hold you when desire runs through every vein of your body, when the wolf inside you recognizes its mate." Celine's knees trembled, and she had to brace herself against the stone fountain to keep standing. Her Omega instincts flared, every nerve alight with the scent of him, the touch of him, the heat of him she had not yet even felt against her skin. The pull was instinctual, unrelenting, irresistible. Cale stepped closer still, so close that she could feel the warmth of his body, the power coiled beneath his skin, and the almost imperceptible brush of his fingers against hers sent a shiver racing up her spine. "Celine," he murmured, voice husky, You cannot deny me. You will not deny me. Every part of you belongs to me. She tried to speak, tried to protest, but her voice failed. The words stuck in her throat, tangled with want, fear, and something older, something primal. Her pulse surged, her breaths came shallow, and the wolf inside her yowled in recognition, hungry for the claim, desperate for the heat, aching to be marked. Cale's hand brushed against her cheek, warm and heavy, sending a current straight through her. I will wait, he whispered, the edge in his voice a knife sharpened on steel. But know this, the longer you resist, the more I will take. Your mind, your body, your soul. And Celine. He leaned closer, voice dropping to a guttural whisper. Every inch of you will belong to me before you can even think to fight it. Her chest heaved. The tension, the heat, the feral ache inside her. It was unbearable, delicious, and frightening all at once. She wanted him. She feared him. She wanted to run. And yet she stayed, rooted to the ground, caught between law, promise, and desire. You're impossible, she breathed, voice trembling. You're fire, Cale. You'll consume me if I stay. He smiled, predatory and unrepentant. Then burn with me, he said simply, and the words were a promise, a threat, and a declaration all at once. The sun rose fully, spilling light across the garden, yet all Celine could see was Cale. All she could feel was the pull of him, the brush of his heat, the scent of him that lingered in her skin, in her hair, in the very marrow of her bones. Evan's words, her duty, her promises, all faded to whispers against the roar of the alpha claiming her without touch, without demand, without apology. She was already his. And perhaps, just perhaps, she wanted it that way. The wolf inside her stirred, recognizing its mate. The world outside, the rules, the clan, the promises, was meaningless against the pull of Cale Draven. She was caught and she knew it. Completely, dangerously, irrevocably. A breeze stirred through the trees, carrying the scent of rain, wet earth, and him. Cale's hand brushed hers again, faint, teasing, claiming, and Celine shivered. Desire, fire, and fear twisted inside her, raw and relentless. She closed her eyes, taking it in, feeling it, tasting it, and for the first time in her life she gave herself over, just a little, to the storm that was Cale Draven. The alpha who would not be denied. The danger she could not escape. The forbidden love that would define her. And as the wind whispered through the leaves, she knew this. The world could demand obedience, promises, and restraint. But Cale Draven's claim was older than law, stronger than loyalty, and hotter than any fire she had ever known. She opened her eyes, and the world tilted. The alpha was hers, already, irrevocably, and terrifyingly so. Celine Ardent had never felt the Draven estate so suffocating. Every corridor, every shadowed alcove, every polished stone seemed to hum with Cale Draven's presence, even when he was nowhere near. She moved with careful, measured steps, aware that every glance might carry the weight of his gaze, every breath might draw him closer. The alpha's claim was a living thing, silent, feral, and terrifyingly magnetic, and it followed her like a shadow she could not outrun. The council chamber was alive with muted whispers as she entered. Alphas and betas discussed strategy, territory, and power with precision, but Celine's focus was elsewhere. She was not here for politics, not today. And yet, politics had a way of dragging her deeper into Cale's orbit. Cale Draven sat at the head of the chamber table. His posture perfect, the edge of control radiating from him like a storm about to break. The council members spoke, their words a background hum, but Celine felt only him. The taut line of his shoulders, the dark, impossible depth in his eyes, the faint primal scent that stirred the wolf inside her. He noticed her immediately, as if he could smell her hesitation, the tremor of want beneath her calm. And he did not look away. He never did. You will take the east perimeter, Cale said abruptly, voice low but carrying across the chamber. His gaze flicked to her, sharp and commanding. Celine. Her name, spoken like that, caught in her throat. The air seemed to thicken, pulling her closer even as every instinct screamed caution. You will accompany Cash and Rive on the inspection, he continued, ignoring the stir of whispers around the table. "And you will report directly to me." Celine nodded, even though her chest tightened. She had worked with Cashin before, a competent advisor, but Cale's command was different. It carried a mark, a thread of dominance that made her pulse spike and her limbs betray her, trembling under the weight of his authority. As the council dispersed, Cale rose, moving closer to her, slow, deliberate, the Alpha's presence a tangible force pressing against her skin. "Do not be late," he murmured, brushing past her shoulder. The scent of him, the wild, musky heat, suffused her senses, and she stumbled slightly, catching herself on the edge of the table. "You think I could be late for you?" she whispered, breath catching as she fought to steady her racing heart. Cale's lips curved into the faintest smirk. "I do not care about being late. I care that you understand who claims you." His hand brushed briefly against hers, a mere whisper of touch, but it sent fire surging through her veins, awakening the wolf that lay curled and restless beneath her ribs. The east perimeter was a stretch of the Draven estate rarely inspected without purpose. Cashin walked beside her, discussing the usual matters: defenses, patrol rotations, and infrastructure. Celine nodded and replied politely, but her mind was elsewhere. She could feel Cale's influence in the air, in the weight of his claim, in the echo of his scent that seemed to linger in every corner. "You are distracted," Cashin remarked, tilting his head. His sharp eyes missed nothing, but even he could not fully measure the pull of Cale on her. "The Alpha has been watching you more closely these past days. It is dangerous to draw his attention without purpose." Celine swallowed hard, aware of the tremor in her fingers as she adjusted the strap of her satchel. "I am aware," she murmured, voice low, almost a whisper, though her pulse betrayed the truth. Every nerve, every instinct, every shadow of thought revolved around him. Cale Draven. The Alpha she should fear, the Alpha she could not resist. Cashin's gaze lingered on her, knowing, cautious. "Do not let desire cloud your judgment," he said softly. "The Alpha's intentions are not merely personal. There is strategy here, Celine, and you must remain vigilant." She nodded, swallowing again. Strategy, duty, obedience. They were chains she knew she could not ignore. And yet, the fire inside her, awakened by Cale's proximity, threatened to consume every restraint. As they walked along the perimeter, the early sun glinting off the dewy grass, Celine felt it. Movement, presence, even before she saw him. Cale Draven emerged from the shadows of the trees, silent and unyielding, his figure framed by the morning light. "Cale," she breathed, though the sound was lost in the wind. He did not respond immediately. Instead, he approached, each step deliberate, predatory, the weight of him pressing against her senses. The wolf inside her stirred, restless, aware, trembling for the scent and touch of its Alpha. "You are distracted," he murmured when he reached her side. His eyes, storm-dark and impossible, searched hers. "I can feel it in your pulse. Every thought that strays from me is a lie to yourself." Celine's hands clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palms. She wanted to resist. She wanted to be loyal. She wanted to obey the promise she had made to Evan. And yet she could not. She could not lie to the pull of him, the raw, consuming hunger that wrapped around her like chains of fire. "You cannot. You should not," she began, but he silenced her with a finger pressed lightly to her lips. "I am Alpha," he said simply. His voice a low rumble that vibrated through her bones. "I claim what is mine, Celine. You do not have a choice. Not now, not ever." The brush of his thumb against her cheek was subtle, almost delicate, but beneath it lay the weight of a promise, a threat, and a mark. Celine's breath hitched, every nerve on fire. She could feel herself yielding inch by inch, drawn to him as the tide obeys the moon, powerless to resist. Cashin cleared his throat awkwardly behind them, and Cale's gaze flicked to the advisor, sharp, commanding. "Keep walking," he ordered. Cashin obeyed immediately, leaving the Alpha and Omega alone for a heartbeat that stretched like eternity. Cale stepped closer, the heat of him brushing against her shoulder, the scent enveloping her senses, the strength of his body a tether she could not break. "Do you understand?" he murmured. "Every time you resist, every time you pretend to be obedient, it only sharpens me. It only makes me want you more." Celine's knees threatened to buckle. The wolf inside her howled, wild and unrestrained, acknowledging the claim she had been fighting against since the moment their eyes first met. Desire twisted with fear, loyalty with lust, reason with instinct. She was trapped between worlds, and Cale Draven held both keys. "You are impossible," she whispered, voice trembling, "and dangerous." His lips curved in a dark, feral smile. "Dangerous? Perhaps," he murmured. "But so are you. And it excites me." He leaned in, close enough that her breaths mingled with his, close enough that her heart, racing, could not deny the truth. "You are mine. Even if you do not yet see it, even if you fight it, even if the world would punish it. Every fiber of you belongs to me." Celine closed her eyes, feeling the tension coil around her like steel bands. The world, duty, and promises were meaningless here. In this moment, with the alpha beside her, the wolf inside her stirring, she knew the truth. Cale's claim was irrevocable. His dominance was not only over territory or clan, it was over her body, her mind, her instincts, and her soul. The breeze shifted, carrying the scent of wet earth and cedar, carrying the unspoken promise of fire, blood, and desire. Celine shivered, trembling, aware of the dangerous precipice she stood upon. Cale brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch light, yet each movement was a mark, a signature, a claim. "Do you feel it?" he whispered, and the world fell away. "The pull, the hunger, the fire? You cannot hide it from me. The wolf inside you answers to me, Celine. And you will learn. To obey it, to need it, to crave it." Her knees weakened, her breaths came shallow, and her body betrayed her entirely. She had promised another, she had sworn obedience, she had believed herself capable of resistance. But now, here with Cale Draven beside her, every instinct screaming, every nerve alight, she knew, she would never resist. Not him. Not ever. And the first spark of fear curled in her chest. Because desire, once claimed, is not gentle. It is fire, it is blood. It is the reckoning of every boundary you have ever known. Cale Draven had claimed her. And Celine, ardent, trembling, aware, alive, knew she would burn willingly. The estate had grown quiet by the time Celine returned to her quarters. The corridors were dim, shadows stretching long across the stone floors, the torches flickering like nervous hearts. She should have felt relief, safety, privacy, but the absence of Cale Draven was suffocating. His scent lingered in her clothes, clinging to her hair, to her skin, a ghost of cedar, rain-soaked earth, and something darker, more intimate, that made her knees weaken. Celine sank onto the edge of her bed, bare feet brushing the cool stone floor. Her fingers trembled as she traced the line of her collarbone, imagining the heat of Cale's hands against her skin. Every thought of him made her pulse spike, her breaths shallow, her body awake with want she could not name. "You are impossible," she whispered, the words trembling, half lament, half admission. She pressed her face into her hands, trying to steady the fire curling through her veins. Impossible, dangerous, forbidden, but utterly magnetic. The knock at her door was soft, hesitant. She froze. Only two people ever entered unannounced. Evan, whose presence was always gentle, or Cale, whose presence devoured everything in its path. "Celine." The Alpha's voice rolled through the chamber before he appeared, low, dangerous, intimate. He stepped inside as if the door had no walls, no boundaries, claiming the space, claiming her. The torchlight caught his profile. Sharp angles, dark eyes, tension coiled like a spring beneath his skin. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, though her voice trembled, betraying her body's recognition of him. "I should be wherever you are," he murmured, closing the distance. The air between them charged, thick with scent and tension. The Alpha's claim pressed down on her like gravity, and the wolf inside her twisted, restless, aching for the warmth and dominance that he radiated. Her knees threatened to buckle. She gripped the edge of the bed, the sheets crumpling under her fingers. "Cale, you're dangerous," she breathed, voice barely audible. "You'll consume me." His lips curved, predatory, teasing, and yet there was a tenderness hidden beneath the feral magnetism. "I do not wish to destroy you," he murmured, voice low, vibrating through her bones. "But I will claim you, Celine. Every inch, every breath, every heartbeat. Whether you resist or not, it will be mine." She closed her eyes, shivering. His words were a promise, a threat, a claim all at once. And she knew it was true. She had felt it since the first moment he had looked at her, marking her like territory, igniting something ancient and feral in her. Cale stepped closer, his fingers brushing hers in a movement that was both teasing and possessive. Every nerve in her body lit aflame. Desire, fear, longing, they twisted together, impossible to separate. "You think I would let you stand alone?" he murmured, voice rough, leaning close so that the heat of him pressed against her. "Every heartbeat you take, every breath you draw, is tethered to me. You are mine, Celine, even if the world insists otherwise." She trembled, lips parting in a whisper she could not quite form into words. The wolf inside her howled, raw and insistent, aware of the alpha claiming her, of instinct she could not resist, of the pull she could no longer deny. "Cale," she breathed, voice trembling. You're too much. Too strong. Too dangerous." He laughed softly, darkly, like a storm breaking over the mountains. "Dangerous," he said, tilting his head. "Perhaps. But so are you. And it excites me." Her pulse quickened. She could feel the heat pooling low in her stomach, spreading, coiling, making her shiver, making her ache. She wanted to pull away, to resist, to flee, but the magnetic pull of him held her fast, unyielding. "You're impossible," she whispered, the words tasting like sin. "And I should hate you." Cale's hand lifted, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. The touch was feather-light, yet it carried the weight of dominance, the thrill of possession, the unspoken claim. "You will not hate me, Celine," he murmured. "Because even in your fear, even in your resistance, you belong to me. Every pulse, every heartbeat, every breath is mine to command. And one day, you will know the truth of it." The room seemed to shrink around them. The torchlight flickered, casting shadows that danced across the walls like flames. Cale's proximity made her skin tingle, her senses sharpened to every movement, every heartbeat, every whispered promise. The wolf inside her yowled, sensing the alpha's power, acknowledging it, yearning for it. Celine tried to steady herself, closing her eyes and pressing her palms to her cheeks. I cannot," she whispered, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Her body burned, her blood raced, and every instinct screamed surrender. Cale's lips brushed the edge of her ear, light, teasing, claiming. "You already can," he murmured. "You already are. And you will be. Whether you admit it or not, Celine, your body knows the truth. Your wolf knows the truth. And soon, your mind will too." She shivered violently, aware of how close she had come to falling completely under his spell. Every nerve, every muscle, every instinct wanted him. Every thought of Evan, every whisper of duty, seemed distant, hollow, meaningless against the raw pull of Cale Draven. "You are mine," he repeated, softly, firmly, unyieldingly. The words sank into her bones, into her heart, into the wolf that stirred and writhed within her. "And I will wait. But I will not be denied forever." Celine's breath hitched. She pressed her forehead to the cool stone of her wall, shivering with the intensity of her own want, the knowledge of her forbidden attraction, and the overwhelming feral pull of her alpha. Outside the room, the estate remained silent. But inside, fire and desire crackled like lightning, raw and untamed, marking the first secret claim of a battle that neither of them could resist. She knew, deep in her marrow, that this was only the beginning. The alpha had found her, claimed her in ways no one else could, and she could never be free of him. Not now. Not ever. Cale's shadow fell over her, long and inescapable, and she felt the weight of it pressing into her very soul. Desire, danger, hunger. They intertwined, wild and feral, and Celine trembled in both fear and anticipation. The wolf inside her yowled, answering the alpha's call, and for the first time, Celine did not resist. She would meet the fire. She would meet the danger. She would meet him. And the world, law, promise, loyalty would have to wait. The night air was thick with the scent of rain and pine as Celine Ardent moved silently through the corridors of the Draven estate. Every step carried the memory of Cale Draven's claim, the heat of his body, the sharp intensity of his gaze, the magnetic pull that left her trembling long after he had vanished from her presence. She had tried to focus on duty, on the promise she had made to Evan Thorne, but the alpha's shadow followed her, lingering in her hair, in her skin, in the hollow of her pulse. Her fingers flexed nervously at her sides as she entered the private courtyard, stone floors cool beneath her bare feet. Moonlight spilled over the wet earth, silvering the leaves, casting Cale's world in a surreal, luminous glow. She should have been alone. She should have been safe. But instinct told her she would not be. Celine. The voice rolled through the courtyard, low and feral, and she froze. There he was, emerging from the shadows like a storm breaking from the treeline. Cale Draven, Alpha King, predatory and unyielding, moving toward her with the grace of a wolf and the precision of a hunter. "You shouldn't be out here alone," she whispered, breath trembling. But even as she spoke, her body leaned slightly forward, drawn by the invisible thread of him that pulled her toward the center of danger and desire. Cale stopped just a step away, his presence consuming the space around her. Every inhale carried the scent of him, cedar, leather, rain-soaked earth, and that wild, feral undertone that made her pulse spike and the wolf inside her stir. "You cannot hide from me," he murmured, voice low and intoxicating, vibrating through her bones. "Every heartbeat you take, every breath, every pulse, mine knows it. And soon the rest of you will too." Her knees threatened to give way. She gripped the stone fountain beside her, steadying herself against the rush of heat that pooled low in her stomach. Her mind screamed caution, loyalty, reason, but every nerve, every instinct, every inch of her body screamed surrender. Cale's hand lifted, brushing against her cheek with feather-light precision. The touch was delicate, intimate, but carried the unmistakable weight of claim. Celine shivered violently, the wolf inside her yowling in recognition of the alpha, the mate, the danger she could not resist. "You are mine," he whispered, close enough that his breath caressed her ear. "Not tomorrow, not when the world allows it, but here, now, and in every way that matters. Do you understand?" Her breath caught. She could not speak. Her pulse hammered against her ribs, racing as she felt the heat of him pressing in, surrounding her, anchoring her in a tide she could not escape. She began, but he silenced her with a finger pressed lightly to her lips. "You already feel it," he murmured, the edge in his voice a promise and a warning. "The wolf inside you knows it. It aches for it. No. I will not let it wait forever." Celine's chest heaved, shivering as instinct warred with logic. She could feel his dominance pressing in on her senses, the magnetic gravity, the raw alpha energy, the unyielding claim, and she knew with sickening clarity that resistance was impossible. Her body, mind, and soul had begun to answer to him, even as her promise to Evan whispered like a ghost in her mind. Cale's hand traced the curve of her jaw, lingering just a breath away from her lips. "I will mark you," he said softly, darkly. "Not for the clan, not for the laws, but for us, for the bond that no one else can claim." Her stomach knotted, the thrill of fear and want coiling tightly. To be marked by the alpha was taboo, dangerous, irreversible. And yet, the thought of his claim, of the wolf inside her finally yielding, ignited something feral, delicious, and undeniable. You cannot," she whispered, voice trembling, though her body betrayed her, aching toward him, desperate for the impossible, the forbidden. Cale smiled, predatory, patient, and terrible in his dominance. "Watch me," he murmured. His hands lifted, one resting lightly against her shoulder, the other brushing along the small of her back, anchoring her in place. Every movement was precision, every brush of skin a claim, every breath drawing her closer to the edge of surrender. The moonlight danced across his face, highlighting the sharp lines of his jaw, the dark storm in his eyes, the undeniable pull that made her body betray every instinct for caution. Celine's wolf stirred, raw and hungry, recognizing the alpha and aching to be claimed. Cale leaned in, lips ghosting along her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "Feel it," he murmured. "Every nerve, every pulse, every instinct answering me. You cannot resist." Celine pressed a trembling hand against his chest, feeling the taut strength beneath the fabric, the unrelenting power of the alpha, the weight of him pressing against her senses. "Cale, this is madness," she whispered, lips barely moving. "We cannot." He silenced her again, pressing his forehead to hers, the heat of him overwhelming, magnetic, impossible. "We already have," he said simply. "Every glance, every brush, every heartbeat already claimed. And tonight I will make it permanent." The courtyard seemed to shrink, the shadows of the torches flickering across stone walls, the wind carrying the scent of wet earth and pine. Celine's body trembled, heart racing, wolf thrumming with anticipation. She knew, with terrifying clarity, that Cale's words were no longer a warning. They were a promise, a declaration, a claim that would mark her forever. He brushed his lips across her temple, light, teasing, but each touch burned like fire. "You will learn to obey me," he murmured, dark, low, intimate. "To need me, crave me, to yield completely, and willingly." Celine's breath hitched, the tension coiling tighter with every second, every movement, every whispered promise. The world, duty, and loyalty to Evan were fading, insignificant against the raw pull of the alpha who claimed her, who had marked her in ways she could no longer resist. You are impossible," she breathed, voice trembling. "And I am afraid." Cale smiled, a shadow of dominance and desire, feral and patient. "Good," he whispered. "Fear makes surrender sweeter. And you will surrender, Celine. Every inch, every heartbeat, every breath. You will be mine." The wolf inside her yowled, raw and hungry, recognizing the alpha's dominance, acknowledging the claim, aching for the heat and fire of him. Celine trembled, every nerve alive, aware that she was teetering on the edge of the forbidden, ready to fall. Cale's hands lifted, one sliding to her waist, the other tracing her spine, anchoring, claiming, marking without need for words. "This is only the beginning," he murmured, lips brushing the shell of her ear. "The world will try to pull you back. Duty will call. Promises will cling. I will not be denied. And you will learn that you cannot resist me." Celine's knees buckled slightly, and he caught her with ease, holding her against him. Heat pressed to heat, scent to scent, wolf to alpha. "I am yours," she whispered, voice trembling with both fear and desire. "Even if it's forbidden. Even if it's madness." Cale's dark eyes softened ever so slightly, predatory dominance never fading. "And I will take it," he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple, a promise, a claim, a marking that would linger in her memory, in her body, in her wolf, long after the night ended. The courtyard wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of cedar, rain, and fire. And Celine, trembling, aware, and fully alive to the pull of Cale Draven, knew one undeniable truth. She was marked, claimed, and irrevocably his. The first spark of permanent surrender had been lit, and neither of them could turn back. Celine Ardent moved through the halls of the Draven estate like a ghost, her steps soft against the polished stone floors. Her body still burned from the memory of Cale Draven's hands, his scent lingering on her skin, and the invisible mark he had left upon her wolf. Every instinct screamed to resist him, to flee the danger, yet the magnetic pull of the alpha was impossible to deny. The estate was alive with whispers and tension. Guards, advisors, and family members moved as if under Cale's command, unaware of the storm that simmered in Celine's chest. She should have been calm, composed, focused on duty, but her body betrayed her. Every nerve, every pulse, Every breath still belonged to Kale. She paused outside the study, the faint glow of lamplight spilling through the partially open door. Kale was there, standing behind the desk, reviewing maps and reports. His posture commanding yet relaxed. The sight of him, Alpha King, Predator, Danger incarnate, made her chest tighten, her wolf stir. "You're late," he murmured without looking up. His voice low, rumbling through her very bones. Celine faltered, trying to steady herself, but the heat of his presence made words impossible. "I was attending to other duties." Kale finally looked up, his dark eyes cutting through her excuses, seeing straight into her soul. "Celine, do not try to hide from me," he said, voice soft but firm. "Every heartbeat, every thought, every breath, you cannot mask it from me. Your wolf knows the truth. And so do you." Her breath hitched. He was right as always. Every instinct, every desire, every tremor of fear and want coursing through her body screamed for him. Yet the promise she had made to Evan, the loyalty and duty she had sworn, weighed on her chest. She pressed her hands together, fingers trembling. "You are dangerous," she whispered almost inaudibly. "I cannot give in completely. Not yet." Kale rose from behind the desk, moving toward her with the slow, deliberate grace of a predator. "Dangerous," he murmured, circling her like a wolf scenting its mate. "I am your danger, yes. But also your desire. You cannot resist me, Celine. You feel it, even now, despite every attempt to deny it." Celine swallowed hard, shivering. Her wolf stirred, wild and insistent, recognizing its alpha, acknowledging the claim he had begun to make permanent. Every nerve was alight with heat and longing, yet fear still lingered at the edges. "You've been marked," Kale said softly, almost a statement of fact. His hand brushed against her shoulder, fingers tracing a path along the line of her arm. "Physically, mentally, spiritually. And the world has no say over it. Your body knows me. Your wolf knows me. And soon, your mind will too." She trembled violently, her chest tightening. The thought of surrender, of giving herself fully to him, both terrified and thrilled her. She wanted to resist. She wanted to obey duty and promise. But instinct, desire, and the feral claim of her alpha pressed in from all sides. "You cannot stay away," Kale whispered, close now, lips brushing against her ear. "Every glance, every breath, every heartbeat draws you back to me. You are mine, Celine. Ready. And every moment you pretend otherwise only strengthens the inevitability." Her wolf yowled, raw and primal, answering him. She pressed her palms to the desk, grounding herself, yet the pull of him was irresistible. Her breath came shallow, her body alight with anticipation and fear, and the forbidden intensity of their connection pressed against every nerve. "Kale," she breathed, voice trembling. "It's too much." He smiled, feral, patient, magnetic. "Good," he murmured. "It should be. You will learn that this is not about reason, promise, or law. This is about us. About your wolf, your instincts, your body, and your soul. And soon, you will surrender willingly." Kale's hands moved with deliberate care, one resting lightly on her waist, the other tracing her spine. Every touch was precision, every brush of skin a claim, every movement igniting fire. Celine's pulse raced, her wolf thrumming in recognition, her body betraying the loyalty she still tried to uphold. "You're impossible," she whispered, voice shaking, desire and fear tangled together. "And I don't know if I can." He silenced her with a finger on her lips, dark eyes locking with hers. "You can, Celine," he murmured, "because your body has already chosen. Your wolf has already answered. You will surrender. Every heartbeat, every breath. You will be mine. Even if the world would punish it. Even if you wish to fight. You will obey." Her knees threatened to give out, and he caught her effortlessly, pressing her against his chest. The heat, the dominance, the scent of him, cedar, wet earth, musk, washed over her, overwhelming her senses. She was trembling, shivering, alive in a way that terrified and thrilled her. You are mine, Kale said again, voice low, unyielding, a vow and a claim. Physically, mentally, spiritually. Your wolf answers to me. And soon your heart and mind will too. Celine's breath hitched. She knew it was true. Her body, her wolf, her soul. Everything was already tethered to him. The promise to Evan, the expectations of the clan, the rules of law and loyalty. They were distant echoes compared to the fire burning in her veins for him. You will learn, Kale murmured, lips brushing her temple, that surrender is not weakness. That desire is strength. That being claimed by your alpha is a power you cannot deny. Her wolf stirred violently, yowling in recognition. She pressed her hands to his chest, feeling the taut strength beneath, feeling the alpha claim her utterly. Every nerve, every pulse, every heartbeat was alive with fire, with want, with the forbidden pull of the alpha who had marked her as his own. Kale's hands traced along her sides, anchoring her, claiming her in ways that were silent but undeniable. This is only the beginning, he whispered. The world will test you. Duty will call. Promises will cling. But none of it will matter. You are mine. Every inch, every heartbeat, every breath. Celine closed her eyes, shivering, trembling, aware of the depth of his claim. Every instinct screamed surrender. Every nerve thrummed with the pull of him. She was his. Completely, irrevocably, and dangerously his. The torchlight flickered, shadows dancing across the walls of the study. Outside, the estate slept, unaware of the fire and tension building within. But inside, desire, danger, and claim intertwined, weaving a web she could no longer resist. And Celine, trembling, alive and aware, knew with terrifying clarity. She had been claimed. By the alpha who would not be denied. The Draven estate was no longer just stone and shadow for Celine Ardent. Every hallway, every torchlit corner, every polished floor carried the memory of Kale Draven, Alpha King, Predator, Fire Incarnate. His scent lingered in her hair, on her skin, threading through her blood like wildfire. Every heartbeat she took was a silent acknowledgement of him, every breath a surrender she could not deny. Yet tonight, the estate pulsed with tension beyond her own. The council chambers had whispered warnings, sharp and urgent. Rumors of dissent among the alphas, hushed talk of the Omega she was promised to but no longer belonged to in any meaningful way, murmurs that Kale's growing obsession with her, his marking, his dominance, could ignite conflict she was powerless to prevent. Celine moved through the corridors with careful precision, the weight of Kale's claim pressing against her from every angle. She had tried to focus on duty, on purpose, but desire clawed at her mind with relentless persistence. She could feel the wolf inside her stir, restless, feral, recognizing the pull of her alpha like a river drawn to the sea. Kale awaited her in the private courtyard, the moonlight glinting off his sharp features, every movement predatory, deliberate. His eyes, dark as storm clouds, roamed over her with ownership, hunger, and a patience that terrified her. "You're late," he murmured, stepping closer, every inch of his presence a claim. "And you look distracted. The fire in you should not be hidden, Celine. Should burn. And you should feel it." Her lips parted, breath catching. I have been," she faltered, voice trembling, "preparing for the council meetings." Her body betrayed her. Every nerve, every instinct, every flicker of desire screamed for him. Kale's lips curved, dark and feral. "Preparation is nothing if your mind and body are not aligned with your true nature. You are mine, Celine. And that includes every thought, every heartbeat, every pulse of the wolf inside you." She swallowed, shivering. "Kale, I know," he whispered, voice low, vibrating through her bones. "You fear me. You fear the fire you feel for me. But fear and desire are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. And I will guide you through it." Her wolf yowled softly, responding, acknowledging the alpha's words, the claim, the invisible tether that bound them. She trembled, shivering as Kale stepped even closer, brushing the edge of her arm with his hand, a touch both light and heavy with dominance. "The council is uneasy," Kale murmured, voice dropping into a low rumble. They sense the pull between us. The markings, subtle as they are, have not gone unnoticed. Some would see it as weakness. Some would try to challenge me. But they do not understand. They will never understand what it means to claim your mate. Celine pressed her hands to his chest, feeling the taut strength beneath, feeling the power, dominance, and raw feral heat of him. And if they oppose you, she whispered, fear threading through her desire. If they try to take me, or hurt you. Kale's dark eyes softened ever so slightly, but the feral edge never left them. Then they will learn, he said simply, stepping closer, lips brushing hers with the faintest, teasing pressure. They will learn that I do not tolerate threats to my claim. To you. And they will learn. The wolf inside you answers to me. Her breath hitched, pulse hammering, every nerve alive with fire. She could feel the weight of his claim pressing on her, and the forbidden thrill of it made her shiver uncontrollably. Kale. He silenced her with a hand at her waist, pulling her close, the heat of his body consuming the space between them. Do not speak, he murmured, lips ghosting over her temple, ear, the line of her jaw. You will learn by feeling, by surrendering, by knowing that every part of you, body and soul, belongs to me. The wolf inside her yowled, raw and hungry, responding to his dominance, his scent, his presence. Celine trembled, shivering, aware that resistance was no longer an option. The fire of desire, the pull of instinct, the claim of her alpha, all entwined, relentless, impossible to deny. You are mine, Kale whispered again, brushing a hand over her hair, down the curve of her spine. Not just by law, not just by duty, but by nature, by instinct, by the bond that has existed long before promises and threats. You are mine, Celine. And you will learn to embrace it. Her body shook, pulse racing, wolf howling in recognition. I am afraid, she whispered, voice trembling. But I cannot resist you. Kale smiled, dark, feral, magnetic. Good, he murmured. Fear sharpens desire. Resistance ignites fire. And you, Celine, are fire incarnate. You will burn beautifully, willingly, for me. The courtyard seemed to shrink, shadows flickering across the stone, wind stirring the leaves, carrying the scent of pine, rain, and the alpha claiming his omega. Celine pressed herself closer, shivering, aware of every inch of heat, every pulse, every whisper of fire that bound her to him. You will learn, Kale whispered, brushing lips along her cheek, that surrender is strength, that desire is power, that being claimed by your alpha is the only truth you need. And soon, you will understand fully, willingly, and irrevocably. Celine's wolf yowled, acknowledging, answering, submitting to the claim she had tried to deny. Every nerve, every heartbeat, every pulse of blood sang with the reality of her alpha's dominance. She trembled, aware that she had crossed a line from which there was no return. Kale, she whispered, voice barely audible. I will try to obey. His dark eyes softened, shadowed with fire and promise. You will not try, he murmured, lips brushing hers, ghost-like kisses that seared and claimed. You will obey. And soon you will crave it. Every moment, every breath, every heartbeat will be tied to me. And you will love it, as dangerous and forbidden as it may be. The moonlight glinted across his sharp features, highlighting every line, every shadow, every curve of strength and dominance. Celine shivered violently, the wolf inside her roaring with recognition, with need, with the impossible pull of the alpha who had claimed her. And in that moment, trembling, shivering, alive with fire, she knew one undeniable truth. She was his. Completely. Irrevocably, dangerously. Celine Ardent moved through the halls of the Draven estate with the weight of the alpha's claim pressing on her every step. Even the polished stone floors, the flickering torches, and the quiet whispers of the guards seemed to hum with Kale Draven's presence. Every shadow carried memory, every scent carried dominance, every breath reminded her of what she could not escape, that she belonged to him. Yet the estate had changed. The council chambers had murmured beneath Kale's gaze. whispers of discontent and suspicion curling through the halls like smoke. Some alphas questioned his decisions. Others, his obsession with Celine. And though no one dared speak openly, the undercurrent of danger reached her senses as sharply as Kale's scent always did. Celine paused outside the chamber, hands trembling slightly. Cashin Rive had insisted she attend, warning of subtle but dangerous discontent within the ranks. The council would not challenge Kale outright. He was too powerful, but whispers, alliances, and subtle sabotage could shift the balance of power. Inside, the council waited, their eyes flicking to her, measuring, judging. She could feel their unease, their quiet calculation, and it made her shiver in both fear and recognition of Kale's dominance. She was no longer just an observer. She was the epicenter of forbidden tension, a catalyst for the storm that Kale carried like a shadow. Celine! Kale's low, commanding voice rolled across the chamber. Even seated at the head of the table, he seemed to dominate the space effortlessly. You will report. Her pulse quickened. She straightened, every movement deliberate, conscious of the invisible thread pulling her toward him. The perimeter inspections have revealed. She began her report, detailing the structural integrity, patrol rotations, and minor vulnerabilities she had observed. Her voice was steady, professional, but every nerve, every instinct was attuned to the alpha beside her, the claim he had made, the danger that lingered beneath his presence. Kale's eyes never left her. Every glance, every subtle tilt of his head, reminded her of the claim that bound her to him, of the wolf inside her that recognized him as its master, and of the forbidden desire she could no longer resist. Cashin leaned toward her quietly. They whisper, he murmured softly, almost inaudibly. Some question the connection. Be careful. Celine swallowed hard, aware that the tension between duty and desire, between loyalty and instinct, was about to collide. She nodded subtly, keeping her eyes on Kale, drawing strength from his presence even as the council's quiet disapproval prickled at her skin. When her report concluded, Kale rose, and the room seemed to shrink around him. The perimeter will be reinforced, he announced, voice low, resonant, final. And any doubts about loyalty or capability will be addressed privately. His gaze flicked to her, dark and intimate, and Celine's heart lurched. Every eye in the chamber avoided the tension that passed between them, but she could feel it, raw and undeniable. After the council dispersed, Celine lingered in the quiet of the hallway, catching her breath, trying to steady the fire that Kale had ignited within her. Every step, every glance, every whispered breath pulled her deeper into the dangerous orbit of her alpha. A soft rustle drew her attention. Kale emerged from the shadows, dark and predatory, moving toward her with silent grace. You handled yourself well, he murmured, stepping close. The heat of his body pressed against hers even across the short distance, and the wolf inside her yowled in recognition, yearning for contact, dominance, and claim. You make it impossible, Celine whispered, breath catching as she pressed her hands against her chest. The pull of him, the dominance, the feral heat of the alpha, left her trembling, shivering, alive in ways she could not deny. Kale's hand lifted, brushing lightly against her jaw, tracing her lips with feather-light precision. Impossible, he murmured. I am only inevitable. Her breath hitched. Every nerve was alight, every instinct raw, every heartbeat syncing with his. The wolf inside her stirred, answering, acknowledging, submitting to the alpha claim that had been pressed upon her slowly, deliberately, and now irrevocably. You know, he whispered, dark and intimate, that this cannot remain hidden forever. The council senses it. The whispers grow. And soon it will be impossible to deny the claim we share. Celine trembled. I know. But what happens if they challenge you? Or me? Kale's dark eyes softened with fire and promise. Then they will learn. And you will learn that fear only sharpens desire. That challenge only deepens claim. And that resistance, no matter how fleeting, is irrelevant to what is already ours. Her wolf yowled softly, acknowledging the truth in his words, recognizing the inevitability of surrender. Celine pressed herself closer, shivering as the invisible tether of him wrapped tighter around her soul. Cale brushed his lips against her temple, teasing, claiming, marking. "This is only the beginning, Celine," he murmured. "The council, the world, your promise. None of it matters. You are mine. And soon you will understand fully what that means." Her chest heaved. "Cale, I—" He silenced her with a finger against her lips. Dark, firm, magnetic. "Do not speak," he said softly. "You will feel. You will surrender. You will crave. And you will obey. Every heartbeat, every pulse, every breath will answer to me." Celine's knees trembled, the wolf inside her howling in recognition, anticipation and desire. Every instinct screamed surrender, every nerve thrummed with fire, every breath drew her deeper into the alpha's claim. She pressed her hands against his chest, feeling taut strength, dominance, and undeniable claim. "You are mine," Cale whispered again, brushing a hand through her hair, down the curve of her spine. "Physically, mentally, spiritually. Your wolf knows it. Your body knows it. And soon your mind will know it too." The moonlight glinted across his sharp features, highlighting the storm in his eyes, the predatory precision of his presence, and the feral fire that consumed both him and her in the forbidden orbit they shared. Celine trembled, aware of the line they had crossed, the depth of claim, and the danger that lingered just beyond the estate walls. "Cale, she whispered, breath shallow, wolf yowling, body shivering. "I am afraid. But I cannot resist you." He smiled, dark, magnetic, predatory, and softened ever so slightly. "Good," he murmured. "Fear sharpens fire. Resistance deepens surrender. And desire. Desire will bind you to me in ways no one else can understand." Celine's heart raced, wolf thrumming, every nerve alive, aware that she was no longer just a participant in this dangerous dance. She was the epicenter of it. And Cale, Alpha King, Predator, Fire Incarnate, held her irrevocably in his orbit. And in that charged, forbidden moment, she knew the undeniable truth. She was claimed. Completely. Irrevocably. Dangerously. The council's whispers would not fade. Challenges would come. But tonight, beneath the moon and the shadow of the Alpha, Celine surrendered just enough to know the truth. She was his. The estate trembled with unspoken tension as Celine Ardent moved through the shadowed halls. The council's whispers had not faded. Instead, they had grown sharper, more deliberate. Eyes followed her where they dared, knives of suspicion hidden behind polite bows and formal tones. She could feel it in the air, the undercurrent of challenge, the weight of scrutiny. And at the center of it all, Cale Draven's presence loomed like a storm no one dared face. She entered the private courtyard, heart pounding, pulse thrumming with anticipation. Moonlight bathed the stone floors and walls, silvering the leaves, making shadows dance like flames. Cale was already there, leaning casually against the fountain, dark eyes cutting through the night, predatory and magnetic. Every muscle, every line of him radiated power, control, and claim. "You feel it, don't you?" he murmured, voice low, a growl threading through the syllables. "The council's unease. The whispers. Their questions. They sense it. They know we are bound. And that terrifies them." Celine's wolf stirred violently. She pressed her palms to her chest, shivering as heat and fear wove together. I can feel it," she whispered. "But, Cale, what if they challenge you? Or me?" Cale stepped closer, scent washing over her like rain and fire, wolf and alpha intertwining. "Then they will learn," he murmured, dark and unyielding. "And we will show them exactly what it means to claim your mate. To mark, to bind, to dominate what is mine. And they will not prevail." Her pulse raced, nerves alive with heat and terror, desire and surrender. The pull of him, the claim he had pressed into her soul, was a tether she could not resist. Her wolf howled softly, acknowledging, yearning, ready for the inevitable fire to come. Before she could respond, the sound of boots on stone echoed through the courtyard. Figures emerged. 3 alphas, faces set in rigid lines, their presence brimming with authority, tension, and barely concealed hostility. "Kale," the tallest, sternest one said, voice cold, clipped. "We need to speak. Privately." Kale's dark eyes flicked to Celine, reading the fear, the desire, the thrill in her body. A corner of his lips curved, predatory and intimate. "Do not move," he whispered to her, low, a promise and a warning. "They learn. And remember, you are mine." Celine's knees trembled, wolf howling, heartbeat racing. She nodded subtly, unable to tear her gaze from him, powerless to resist the pull he exerted over her every nerve, every pulse, every breath. The 3 alphas approached, deferential in posture but firm in tone. "There are concerns, Kale," the tallest began again, eyes narrowing. "Concerns about your attentions, your choices, and the influence this Omega carries. The clan will not accept instability. Not now, not ever." Kale's lips curved in a dark smile, patience and dominance threading every line of his face. "Instability," he murmured, voice low and dangerous. "No, gentlemen. What you see is clarity. What you sense is control. And what you cannot understand is power. The power of claiming your mate, of marking them, and of bending destiny to one's will." Celine's breath hitched. Every instinct, every nerve, every inch of her body trembled at his dominance, at the feral fire of him, at the undeniable truth that she was claimed. Her wolf thrummed, raw and insistent, recognizing her alpha and yearning for the heat he radiated. The tallest alpha stepped closer, shoulders tense. "Kale, we respect your authority, but—" He hesitated, tension coiling in the air like a storm. "The Omega, her place, her bond. This cannot continue unchecked. It threatens unity, tradition, and stability." Kale's eyes darkened, the predatory edge sharpening. He took a slow step forward, every motion deliberate, controlled, powerful. "Threatens. Gentlemen, it strengthens. Every bond, every instinct, every heartbeat is mine to command. And any who dare question, it will learn exactly what it means to challenge the Alpha King of Draven." The 3 alphas shifted, tension crackling like wildfire. Celine's pulse thundered. She could feel the magnetic pull of Kale's dominance radiating outward, pressing down, suffocating, intoxicating. Her wolf howled softly, acknowledging his power, her surrender, the inevitability of the claim. You cannot," Celine whispered, voice trembling. "You cannot fight them all, alone." Kale's gaze softened for just a heartbeat, enough to send fire through her veins, enough to ignite the ache of desire and fear. "I never am alone," he murmured. "Not while you breathe, not while your wolf answers to me, not while your heart beats in rhythm with mine. You are mine, Celine. And together we are unstoppable." The tallest alpha swallowed, eyes flicking to Celine, then back to Kale. If the bond is as you claim," he said cautiously, "then we must observe, measure, and respect it. But it must not disrupt the balance of the clan. Do you understand?" Kale's dark eyes glinted. "Balance," he murmured, voice low, controlled, intimate. "Balance is irrelevant when fire burns unchecked. You will learn. And so will she. And anyone who thinks otherwise." He stepped forward, close enough for his scent, his heat, his raw dominance to consume them all. "Will face consequences they cannot imagine." The 3 alphas nodded, swallowing hard, the fire in Kale's presence undeniable. They left, tension trailing behind them like smoke, leaving Celine trembling, shivering, alive with desire, fear, and surrender. Kale turned to her, close now, fingers brushing her cheek, lips hovering near her temple. "You see," he murmured. "The world may try to challenge, to question, to pull us apart. But you belong to me. And nothing will change that." Celine pressed her hands to his chest, heart racing, wolf howling, body trembling with heat and want. I know," she whispered. "And am yours. Completely. Dangerously. Irrevocably." Kale smiled, dark, predatory, intimate. "Good," he murmured. "Because tonight marks only the beginning." The council, the clan, the whispers, they will test us. But you, Celine, will learn that surrender to your alpha is not weakness. It is power. It is desire. It is inevitable. Her knees trembled, wolf thrumming, pulse racing. Every instinct, every nerve, every heartbeat was alive with fire, and she pressed closer, shivering under the magnetic pull of him, under the shadow of his claim. The moonlight glinted across his sharp features, highlighting the storm in his eyes, the predatory precision of his movements, and the feral fire that bound them both in forbidden orbit. Celine shivered violently, aware that nothing, neither counsel, promise, nor duty, could undo the claim, the mark, or the desire he had ignited. And in that charged, forbidden moment, trembling, alive, and shivering with fire, Celine knew one undeniable truth. She was his. Completely. Irrevocably. Dangerously. The council's whispers would escalate. Challenges would rise. But tonight, beneath moonlight, under Cale's shadow and claim, Celine surrendered fully to the fire they had kindled together. The final test, the clash, the confrontation was coming. But she would face it. With him. With the alpha who had claimed her, heart, body, and wolf. The estate was cloaked in tension, every torch flickering as if aware of the storm that approached. Celine Ardent moved cautiously through the halls, her pulse hammering, wolf thrumming with anticipation. Tonight would decide everything. The claim, the desire, the danger that had shadowed her since Cale Draven's first touch. The council had issued a final warning. Whispers of rebellion, of questioning the Alpha King's decisions, of doubting the bond between him and his Omega, had escalated to veiled threats. But Celine knew, as she stepped into the courtyard, that no threat could sway Cale once he had set his mind, or his heart on her. Cale stood at the center, cloak flowing, presence radiating power, control, dominance. His eyes locked onto hers, magnetic and feral, consuming, claiming. The moonlight glinted off his features, sharp and shadowed, a predator in the night. Every inch of him radiated authority, fire, and the undeniable certainty that she belonged to him. "You're here," he murmured, dark, low, intimate. "Good. Because tonight, the world will see what it means to challenge us." Her chest heaved, wolf stirring, instincts raw, desire and fear intertwined. "Cale. He stepped closer, brushing a hand along her jaw, down the curve of her neck. "No words," he whispered. "Tonight is about action, about fire, about claim. Every nerve, every pulse, every heartbeat answers to me. And soon the world will understand." The council arrived, 3 of the most powerful alphas in the clan, faces hard, bodies tense. Their steps were measured, deliberate, but the pull of Cale's dominance was immediate, suffocating, undeniable. Celine's wolf howled softly, sensing the challenge, sensing the threat, recognizing her alpha's feral power. "Cale," the tallest alpha began, voice sharp. "We cannot allow this distraction. Your attention to your Omega, this bond, cannot endanger the stability of the clan. You must." "Stop," Cale interrupted, low and commanding. The word cut the night like steel. "You speak of distraction, of danger. You misunderstand. She is mine. Fully. Every part of her. And if any of you dare to question it, to test it, or to threaten it, you will face consequences you cannot imagine." The council's expressions shifted. Fear, grudging respect, uncertainty. None dared challenge him further. The magnetic force of the alpha, the raw fire, the dominance was undeniable. Celine trembled, aware of every pulse of his power, every magnetic surge that tethered her to him. Cale stepped closer to her, fingers brushing her cheek. "Celine," he murmured, dark, intimate, feral. "Do you understand?" She nodded, wolf yowling softly, body trembling, pulse racing. "Yes. Well, I am yours." "Good," he murmured, lips brushing hers, a fleeting, teasing, consuming touch. "Completely. Irrevocably. Dangerously." The council stepped back, the air thick with tension, acknowledging silently that the claim was absolute. Kale's presence, his dominance, the feral claim he had pressed upon Celine, mental, physical, spiritual, was unassailable. Celine's body shivered under his gaze, under his hands, under the invisible tether of his dominance. Every nerve, every pulse, every instinct screamed surrender, and tonight at last, she would give herself fully. Not in hesitation, not in doubt, but in recognition of the bond, the fire, the alpha's inevitability. Kale's hand slid to her waist, pulling her close, the heat of his body consuming her, the wolf inside her yowling in recognition, in anticipation, in surrender. "Tonight," he whispered, lips brushing her temple, "you will learn the true meaning of being claimed. The council, the world, they will see it. And you will embrace it." Her knees trembled. She pressed herself against him, shivering, heart racing, wolf thrumming. I am ready," she breathed, surrender threading through every word, every pulse. "Kale, I am yours." The alpha smiled, dark, feral, intimate. "Good," he murmured. "Because nothing, no threat, no challenge, no law or whisper, can undo what has already been done. You are mine. And tonight, the claim becomes absolute." With deliberate precision, Kale marked her. Hands, lips, touch, the invisible claim that set her wolf ablaze. Each motion was calculated, intimate, irreversible. Celine trembled, shivering, shouts of ecstasy and fear mingling silently within her. Her wolf answered him, submitting, acknowledging, craving, entwining with the alpha in perfect recognition of the bond. "You are mine," Kale whispered repeatedly, voice low, feral, consuming. "Every heartbeat, every breath, every pulse. Yours to command, yours to claim, yours to surrender." Celine's body pressed closer, wolf thrumming, heart racing, mind spinning with desire and surrender. "Yes, Kale," she breathed. "I am yours. Completely. Dangerously. Irrevocably." The council watched silently, awe and fear entwining with the undeniable dominance of the alpha and the total surrender of his omega. No law, no whisper, no tradition could undo what had been sealed in fire, desire, and claim. Kale's hands lifted her chin, forcing her gaze to meet his. "Do you feel it, Celine?" he murmured, dark, intimate. "The fire, the claim, the bond. This is irreversible. And you will carry it, crave it, obey it, and love it. All of it mine." Her lips parted, breath shivering, wolf roaring, body alive with a fire of submission and desire. I feel it," she whispered. "Every part of me yours. Completely. Dangerously. Forever." Kale's lips brushed hers, slow, claiming, sealing the bond in a kiss that carried both fire and promise. Every nerve, every pulse, every heartbeat was ignited, tethered, bound to him. Celine shivered, trembling, alive with the alpha's dominance, with the inevitability of surrender, with the feral claim she had longed for and feared. The moonlight glinted across their forms, casting shadows that danced like flames across stone walls, illuminating the union of alpha and omega in fire, desire, and forbidden inevitability. The council departed silently, their expressions a mixture of awe and fear. The claim had been made absolute. No challenge could undo it. No threat could sever it. Kale Draven had triumphed, and Celine Ardent had surrendered fully, body, mind, and wolf entwined irrevocably with her alpha. Celine pressed herself to him, shivering, trembling, alive. "Kale, it's done," she whispered, voice trembling with fire, surrender, and desire. "I am yours." Kale's dark eyes softened, shadowed with fire, feral dominance, and promise. "Yes," he murmured. "You are mine. Always. Completely. Irrevocably. Dangerously." And under the moon, in the shadow of the Draven estate, the forbidden fire that had burned between them since the first claim ignited into a blaze of triumph, desire, and surrender. The world could challenge, whisper, threaten, but nothing could undo the bond, the claim, the fire, the alpha, and his omega. Tonight the alpha had triumphed. The omega had surrendered. And together they burned, completely, dangerously, and irrevocably.